John Kasich has a new plan that he thinks is going to help America combat ISIS around the world and also maybe cause Americans to take a closer look at his campaign. And oddly enough, for a Republican, it involves creating a new federal agency. Let's listen.
You talked about a new agency that you're promoting today that would help promote Judeo-Christian values around the globe. You're promoting a new government agency, is that correct?
Well, you know, look, there's nobody that's spent more time shrinking government and cutting budgets than I have. But you also have to have priorities. You know, when it comes to creating priorities, everything isn't equal. And, you know, trying to make everything totally consistent is the hobgoblin of small ideas.
So let's be clear, what does the agency look, in real terms, what would this new agency you're promoting look like?
Well, its job would be fundamentally to revive what we used to do when we beamed messages into the former Soviet Union. I mean, we need to beam messages around the world about what it means to have a Western ethic, to be part of a Judeo-Christian society. It means freedom, it means opportunity, it means respect for women, it means freedom to gather, it means so many things. It's essential, by the way, that those in the West begin to embrace again our Jewish and Christian tradition rather than running from it, hiding from it.
Oh yeah, he's a Republican. I forgot for a little while during this primary. He is kind of crazy. He only looks reasonable because he's standing next to Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, and Donald Trump and Ben Carson.
Okay, so I enjoyed maybe it was just a slip of the tongue, but I enjoyed the new trick that was happening in the middle there. Now it's sometimes Christian Jewish tradition. Okay.
Oh, they're bumping him to the back there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Jews came first. Okay, it's a little inconvenient. We'll work on that propaganda later, right? Yeah. Okay. But my favorite part was this Judeo-Christian heritage that believes in freedom of religion. See, that would seem to be contradictory. If you really believed in freedom of religion, you would also believe in freedom of religion for Muslims and atheists and everyone else, right? And you wouldn't try to jam Jewish Christian ideas down people's throat. Another part of this is that he's flat out wrong about Judeo-Christian heritage, right? Our Western values and heritage is phenomenal. There, I would actually turn around and agree with him in part if you were to set up a program to promote those, right? But if you, and you know, whatever label you want to put on it, but you cannot put the Judeo-Christian label on it because the values that we get from our Constitution are specifically not Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
Our founding fathers...
They were written to not be Judeo-Christian.
Yeah, our founding fathers... like Thomas Jefferson ripped up the Bible, literally, right? Parts of the Bible he didn't like.
In no way are they based on Jewish or Christian traditions. And to make it more specific, that letter was addressed to Muslims specifically.
Yeah,
we've gone nowhere in 200 years. We're still fighting the same battles.
Yeah, and so, look, the idea of human rights and all those things are not Christian ideas. They're just not, right?
Yeah.
That's historically not what Christians did, Muslims did, you know, and you go down the list. It's what secular nations do. Yes. It is an idea that is an American idea, a French idea, a British idea, and then, you know, there are other parts of the world, of course, that adopted it, similar timing, etc. But we set up the United Nations. We push for human rights. That is the greatest things that we have done as a nation, right? Which now the right wing would like to ironically disown, right? But we didn't do it as part of a Jewish Christian idea. No, we did it as part of an idea that is based on our secular constitution. Those are facts. So and if you go and look up in the Bible, it doesn't tell you anything about human rights. I mean, it says help the poor and the needy. Yeah, some parts says the opposite. Some parts says help the poor and the needy. But does the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, discriminate? Yeah. It says, I'm for the Israelites. Let's go kill all the Canaanites.
Yeah.
That's what it says. And the Philistines and everybody else that's in our path. That's the Old Testament. In the New Testament, there are parts where Jesus says, I come with the sword, right? So you're not telling the truth about what the reality is. And even if you got past the fact that it's not true, which would be an interesting thing to get past, right?
They could make that leap.
Right. Then you get to the idea that it's a terrible strategy.
Yeah.
To go to the rest of the world, he said Russia, China, and the Middle East. First of all, to announce that Russia and China, we'd like to do propaganda against you.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have kept that on the down low. Right? Like, hey, send them Wi-Fi. Send Wi-Fi to Iran as much as you can, right? That's a smart idea, right? But to announce to them, we are sending in propaganda. Okay, that's bad idea number one, but that pales in comparison to bad idea number two, which is, especially for the Middle East, we are sending propaganda in against your religion that you identify with and love and respect and cherish. Imagine if you did that here. And Iran announced, Texas, don't worry, we're going to help you. We're going to send in Muslim values into San Antonio and Fort Worth.
Okay, so let's listen. What do you got for us?
Well, human rights and great. Muslim values, great. And we're going to try to get rid of your Jewish and Christian values and replace it with Muslim values. How do you think that'd go over?
So I have 2 points I want to make. First of all, if you take away the Judeo-Christian part, we don't need an agency to do this. We've got any number of agencies that already do this. We've done the stories about the Twitter accounts set up to try to spread American propaganda in different parts of the world. We literally have places where we drop leaflets into countries. We have radio stations around the world that broadcast pro-America propaganda. That's a part of any number of different American agencies. And even if you want to throw back in the Christian Judeo part of it, that's what the churches are doing all around the world. We've got missionaries in all different parts of the world. So we are doing that. We've been doing that. And I would even say, as you said, if you take away the religious part, I'm not even against some of the idea of trying to make our culture and way of life seem appealing. There is certainly historical precedent for that working. Various parts of the world, Europe, Russia to some extent, at one point, Asia do like aspects of our culture. Hollywood is one of these agencies that does that and gets them to be interested in our culture and the blue jeans and the Coke and everything. And so all of that works. But the part about this that really bothers me is that when Kasich admits that how your culture is perceived by a part of the world matters in terms of your national security and how you and that group work together, then how do you not understand the flip side? That when you bomb them indiscriminately, when you use drone strikes, when you do those sorts of things, that will do the opposite of what this agency is trying to accomplish. That it will make you look violent and like you don't respect them, that you don't care about their lives. If talking about our blue jeans is worth something, then bombing them is worth the negative of that.
That's a very interesting point that I hadn't thought of. And then lastly, I'll add this. If you send in, again, to back up what John is saying, if you send in Bibles to the Middle East, I can guarantee you right now that's not going to work. And if you send in soldiers waving Bibles or propaganda waving Bibles, that is going to be grossly counterproductive to what we want to accomplish, right? But if you send in Hollywood, they're going to welcome it with open arms because they can't help but like it. I mean, look at what we did in Vietnam. Again, you're going to John's second point. All the bombs in the world didn't change the Vietnamese minds. But Levi's and McDonald's did a hell of a number on them, right? So send in our best warriors. Coke, Hustler,
Tinder,
Transformers, okay? So if you improve the idea of freedom and America and secular values, well, then you might be able to convince them to not run their countries based on religion. If you try to convince them the idea of running their countries on religion is a good idea, oh no, you've done a terrible thing.
They seem to have accepted that message already.
Yeah, that's not the solution, that's the problem.